Morning, everybody. This is going to be part 2 of the Church Boys Nova 4-link kit in this car right here. I just watched part 1. Somebody, I don't know who, but they held the phone the wrong damn way. So we'll go sideways this time so you guys get a full screen and it's a little more enjoyable to watch. I think we're going to start on this. Probably we should start with an introduction. I'm Carl with No Coast Moto Fab. And we're gonna start with, I'll get the rear end, gas tank, all that out of the way. And then I think I'm gonna cut the trunk out of this. It's rusty, it's gotta come out anyways. And that way I can show you guys what's going on better without having to drag you around under the car with me. So let's get to it. Okay, we'll do a small tour of the underside of this thing before we get too crazy. They already put in a new fuel tank, fuel pump. Kind of see the holes in the trunk a little better now. She has 3-inch pipes laced through here. We're gonna have to get out of the way. You can see somebody at some point already put a 9-inch under this. Oh, let's go this way. There you can get a little better look at the traction bars that were in there. Mufflers we're gonna have to get out of the way. You can see up there, hopefully, I don't know what the hell you guys can see. I'm not real good at this. Somebody already put subframe connectors under this at one point. Ugh. They're just kind of scabby though. We'll get rid of those. Put Church Boys in. It's already had a disc conversion in the rear. Tom's axles. More than likely this rear end has been narrowed once already. We'll check it for square, check it for straight before we cut it down and narrow it more. But that's for a different episode. Stop for a second and show you guys, when you're doing this, something you really want to check is it after you get, I don't know how well you can see that. Maybe, there. How about there? That looks better. When you get it up on jacks, you get it all blocked up, you get it to the point that you're going to start working on it, make sure you throw a level on it, and make sure that the car's level. That way, with unibodies, sometimes they can get squishy. Shit can get out of whack pretty easy. If you have a level point that you're starting with, you know in the end, that's where you need to finish. So it's always good to have a nice solid reference point right off the bat. Okay guys, I'm in the middle of the teardown. There's a couple things that I want to show you. First is I lied to you. That's only our second date. I'm already lying. But this that I pointed out underneath the car was not the fuel pump. It has an intake fuel pump. This is just a fuel filter. So straighten that out real quick. And then on the rear end here, get down here where you can see it. These are the traction bars that I kind of pointed out. You can see right down in here, these two bolts right here, that one and that one, are holding this guy solid. So there's no pivot on the axle, and then it just bolts to the car on the front side. So I want to kind of show you what's going on here. There's already going to be more brakes in this video than there should be, so bear with me. So here's your leaf spring. Here's your axle, here's your rear shackle. So you got a pivot point there, a pivot point there, a pivot point there. So when this compresses, it doesn't compress straight up and down. Your arc's actually traveling backwards a little bit, because when this compresses, it's pushing this back. Like your shackle pivots here, and it's pushing back, so you don't have a straight arc. It arcs towards the back. So if it makes any sense, this tube actually travels backwards towards the back of the car a little bit as it compresses. So, keeping that in mind, when you go to a solid traction bar like that, it actually mounted just a little ahead of that, came back, has the two bolts in there. This is effectively part of your axle now. And this is going to travel at a true arc to that pivot point. So it's not going to let this axle travel back. So what you're basically doing is you're putting a bind on all three of these original pivot points. It's going to work. It's going to stop any sort of pinion roll, and it's going to keep you from getting any tire hop when you get after it. But you're sacrificing ride when you do it this way. Now where you've bound everything up, you took care of your pinion roll, you took care of tire hop when you get after it, but you sacrificed your ride, because this is the arc that this is going to let this travel at, but your actual arc for your leaf spring is more like this. Okay? I hope that makes sense. I hope these scribbles make sense. So now when you go to a 4-link, here's your axle. Lower link mount, upper link mount. Your arm's traveling forward. And we'll just draw your coil over back here. Now you have 4 pivot points, and this is going to move straight up and down. So now you've done the same. You've effectively done the same thing. You have no pinion roll. So you've stabilized everything. You're not going to get your wheel hop. You're not going to have any of those other problems. But this is now going to travel at a true arc, so your ride's going to improve quite a bit. So I just thought I'd show y'all how that worked, so you have a little bit better idea on how the different suspension types work, how your different traction bars work, how sometimes they can fight each other. It's always a balancing act. I mean, if you don't want to spend the money to go to like a 4-link or ladder bar or something like that, and you just go throwing traction bars, just be aware that you're probably going to sacrifice your ride comfort a little bit in doing so. So I'll come back at you when we have the rest of tear down done. Okay, tear down's done, and we're in the trunk. Yeah. So now we just got to get everything cleaned up. Bring your plates with you. These guys. Put them up in there. And as you can see, it's actually pretty impressive how well these things fit. We'll probably touch it up here and there with a grinder, just a tiny bit to get a little bit better fit. You can see right there, it kind of hangs below the frame a little bit. I don't love that. I'd rather it be above the frame, just a hair, tiny bit. It just makes weld look better, and I'm kind of weird like that. So now comes getting rid of this. Now we saw when we test fit our plates that it's going to fit all the way around this, pretty much all the way up in the corner, all through here. We got to get rid of all of this stuff. Now this car is not too bad. It doesn't have a whole lot of undercoating on it, so it shouldn't be too bad. We can probably go at it. But this guy, it'll reach right up there, tighten the corners. Get that all cleaned up. Make sure that you come this way, because keep in mind that plate's 3/16. So your weld's going to be out here starting at 3/16 and buzzing out another 3/16, a quarter of an inch. So that's the part you really want to focus on getting clean. You could go through, break the edge on those plates. So if it's a little tighter to the frame, that nice square edge isn't going to fit super well in that small radius that you got right there. I don't know if you can see it. What? Yeah, whatever. Whatever. For the most part, flap disc will work good, but be careful, because you don't want to take off too much. Keep in mind, this is unibody, so that's just a marginally thicker piece of sheet metal that you're grinding on. You don't want to take off. Okay, you can see we're going through, we're getting everything cleaned up. I still got a bit to go. especially in these areas. There's still some shit in there. I come up to here, and this is subframe connectors that I was telling you about. Grab the light. I said we're a little scabby. See, I burned a hole through the frame there. This is just kind of, I mean, it's serving its purpose, but it's not the greatest. Your e-brake bracket here, this is gonna have to come off. You gotta get it out of the way. I'm gonna have the extra process of getting all this deleted. And these right here, it doesn't say that those need to go. I honestly, I don't even know what these are. So I'm gonna get rid of those just so it's a cleaner install. Because here's your lower 4-link bracket. This actually needs to fit up in there. So all of this is just right in the way. Something else, while you're doing this, go take the extra time, go through and give everything a good inspection. Make sure you don't find any cracks, or be on the lookout for cracks anyways. Stuff like this, just take your hammer, kind of ping it back in. You can get away with just cleaning up where you're going to be working, but I mean, the car, this hasn't been done probably ever. Take a little bit of time, go through, clean everything up. It's going to make for a lot cleaner install, and you can get some rust proofing back on it. Make the car last another 50, 60, 40, however many years old your car is. In the kit, you got to cut off the rubber part. It's supposed to be here, used to be here. Where is it? It's over there now. You only have to remove the bottom part of the pinion snubber. I went ahead and got in a huge fight with this and put holes all over that shouldn't be there. Pay no attention to that, we'll fix that. I decided to get rid of the entire pinion snubber. It'll make it a little bit harder to set up, a few more measurements, but then again, it'll be a cleaner install when it's all done. It's kind of something I like to do on all my builds. Like, you don't have to get rid of the old leaf spring hangers either, but just to clean it up, make it a little bit nicer install, we'll go through and delete on these guys too. I mean, take a little extra time, guys, clean things up, and when you're done, it'll pay dividends. That's about 15 minutes. Maybe 12 months. It's going to be the same process for removing all this that's all over. It's just all there. See this everything right here? Spring load. So it'll go like you just made with your SR bunch. Hold everything nice. Center. Okay, so we got all the tear out done on the back. All the old shit's out of the way. I got everything fit up. I'll drag you all under there with me here in just a minute and show you all the fit up, everything else. Throw a couple tips at you. So now we got to get the inside all tore out, carpet out of the way, seat out of the way, so that we don't burn anything up. Anytime you're welding, you need to make sure that the other side of what you're welding isn't sitting on something that's going to catch on fire, because you're just going to cost yourself more money. So on these old cars, right about here normally, you reach under and normally find it. To get the back seats out, I'm going to get right on the front of the seat and push and lift. At the same time, you can normally get them to pop out. I already did the driver's side, so that I can shorten this up, show you what you're doing. Is this little clip right here has a hook that comes in this way from the bottom, so you're just this way from the bottom. And you're just pushing it back, getting it up above, and letting it come forward. And that's normally all that holds in the back seat on these. Okay, we're on the front side of this now. Starting to weld, check our reference again. Everything's fit up. That one's tacked in already. You can kind of see right there, that 4-link mounts up, tacked in. These plates are in. I knocked off that inside corner like we talked about earlier. I also put a bevel on the bottom of this on the inside towards the frame rail. I'm going to show you why real quick. A lot of problems that I see. Yeah, where is it? Where? Maybe we're not going to do this right now. Maybe I'm going to go searching. Yeah. Found it. 72 hours later, here we are. I'm going to do this because most of the projects that I see coming in, this is what people struggle with the most, is the welding bit of it, especially when you're welding something thick, something thin, like plate, sheet metal. I always see holes burned in the frame or burned into the sheet metal. Whatever the thinner material is, there's always holes blasted in it, and there's never really a good bond on the thicker material. So I guess what I'm saying is you need to be a competent welder to pull off something like this. If you're not, find a way to do some practicing. I mean, maybe like, I don't know, weld your buddy's project together first, ex-wife, nosy neighbor. Once you have a welder, everybody wants you to do their shit. So, I mean, find somebody you don't really like and get all the practice in that you can before you go tearing into your own stuff, because if it doesn't hold, it can be pretty catastrophic. So, you want to get some good practice in first. So, let me bring you in here, and I'm just gonna give you a couple little things that'll maybe help you out. So on our frame, can you see this? That's where we're gonna be welding, and our plate sits in here like so, and then our frame dogs back over this way, comes up out here, you know, it does the thing. So we already beveled this edge of this plate. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see that. Can we get you closer? Maybe there? Can you see that? Okay. So we already beveled this edge of our plate, just to fit this little radius right here so that it fits up nice and tight. I also beveled this edge right here at the bottom of the frame. And I did that because when you're welding overhead, you're going to get more crown to your weld. It's going to hang down more. It's not going to be quite as nice. So by adding that bevel, we gave ourselves more surface area to weld to. We also gave a place for that weld to go. So we're going to end up with a lower crown and a smoother weld. So altogether, it's going to be a stronger weld, and it's going to present itself nicer. Let me get in there. Let me get out of there. It's going to present itself nicer and look a little better. Now when we get up to the top here, and we get our welder in there, we're going to concentrate our heat on the plate. Well, how can we do this? Let's run this back at an angle. We're going to concentrate our heat on this plate. We're going to give it a couple seconds to heat up so that we're hot enough to be welding on the plate. And we're just going to kind of swoop up into the sheet metal. We're just gonna kind of keep going like that, focusing our heat on the plate and just kind of pushing that pedal up into the sheet metal. It's gonna bond to that sheet metal just because it's molten and you have such a so much lower melting point. We're just gonna continue on like that. You see, look, see that? You already got a nice pattern. Look at that. Instagram weld right there, bam, nailed it. Church Boy says stitch weld the whole, whoa. Church Boy says stitch weld the whole thing together. I don't really agree with that. Because what you have is where this plate is laying up against this sheet metal. Those two are sandwiched, and 997 times out of 10, that's where your rust is going to start. You can throw a good weld through primer on both sides of it. You can stitch it in like they say. And that'd probably be fine. I like to fully weld everything. That way you don't really get that chance for dirt and water and, I don't know, beer, whatever, getting back in there and starting rust. So that one's up to you. I would suggest welding it 100%. Make sure that you're up to the task of welding it beforehand. And if it's not going well, stop. Just stop. Figure out what's going wrong. Grind out the bad. Replace it with good. I mean, don't give up. I'll throw a couple pictures in of holes on this car that I found. They tried to stick weld this one together, which don't do that. No, we're talking about that. A MIG will work fine. If you don't own a welder, buy the best welder you can afford. And I would personally go with a solid wire with a gas. That's going to be your best option. Flux wire doesn't get along with sheet metal as well as like a solid wire will. So, and then of course you got TIG, but we're not going to go there yet. We'll save that one for a little further down the road. But anyway, I think we're going to call it here. I got a lot of welding to do. I'll get all this welded up. We'll come back in the next episode. I'll just kind of show you everything after it's welded together. And then we'll start narrowing that rear end. I'll walk you through how to narrow up that. So that's it for today. Hope you somewhat enjoyed this. And we'll see you next time.